Good morning, everyone. Just a week ago, on June 2nd, something happened that never happened before, and that is the oldest Nazi ever was sentenced for his crimes against the Jewish people. 101-year-old Joseph Schutz was sentenced in a German court, found guilty for the murder or being an accomplice to the murder of 3,518 Jews in a concentration camp called Sachsenhausen, which is just near Berlin. And although he put up a defense saying that it wasn't him, it was someone else, he was found and proven to be the one who was responsible for 3,518 deaths of innocent Jews, amongst what historians believe 40 to 50,000 Jews who were murdered at this concentration camp. And 77 years after the Holocaust, justice was served for the families, for the victims. And in this week's Torah portion, we find another person by the name of Bilam who tries to curse the Jewish people. And Balak, the king of Moab, sends a delegation, says, "Come curse the Jews and I'll reward you." He says, "I can't do anything without asking God." And God comes to him at night and says, "Don't go with them. They're a blessed nation. Don't curse them." He sends away the delegation saying, "I can't help you." But then Balak sends a larger delegation. He says, "I'll give you gold and silver. Just come curse the Jews." He says, "I must ask God." And this time God tells him, "If you want to go with them, go with them. But only what I will allow you to say will you say." And the question is, if God told him no the first time, why does God consent a second time? And the rabbis explain a very important principle, that wherever a person's desire is, that's where God allows them to go. You see, a person has free will. And therefore, when God saw that Bilam really wants to go because he wants the gold and the silver and the rewards and the honor, God says, "Fine, if that's what you want, I'm going to allow you to go." But what God really wants us to do is what God told him the first time, not to go, not to follow his desires for reward and honor and wealth. But when he saw he didn't have the self-discipline and he still wanted to be led by his desires rather than by his mind, God said, "Fine, the free will is yours." And the lesson for all of us is that in life we have to make decisions based on what's right and wrong. And once we make that decision, we have to have the self-discipline to implement it, to enforce it, and not to follow the desires of our heart. You know, the key to success in life is self-discipline. You know, if you had an appointment with somebody, you wouldn't think of not showing up, even if you're not in the mood or you don't desire going, because you don't want to let the other person down. Well, if you have an appointment with yourself, you have an agreement, a pact with yourself that this is the right course and that's the wrong course and this is what you're going to do, and you decided in advance, if you don't show up for yourself to do what you promised yourself you were going to do based on your self-discipline, even when it's not comfortable, then you're saying basically, I don't value myself. On the other hand, when you do show up for yourself and you say, no one else knows, but I know it's the right thing, I'm going to do what's right because I promised myself, that strengthens your relationship with yourself and gives you the confidence and the self-esteem to succeed in life. And so whether it was Bilam or whether it was this Nazi Joseph Schutz who was sentenced to 5 years at the age of 101, you cannot defend yourself as many Nazis did, saying, "I was just following orders." No, you weren't just following orders. You were following your heart's desires. Don't blame it on others. You're responsible for your actions. And that's why, even though it's 77 years later, just like the Eichmann trial was important for the world, for the victims, for the families, for the sake of justice, this trial was very important as well, because once again it shows that the Jewish people are here 77 years later still demanding justice. One of the areas that we think we don't have free will is how we perceive things, because we look at a situation, we think, well, that's the reality, I can't change my perspective. But the truth is, we even have free will, what we see in others, because the truth is, it's based on our own desires. There's a story about a student of Rabbi Yashav in Israel, who mentioned to his Rabbi, great rabbi in Israel, that he was a young couple, he just got married, he said, "I'm going to look at an apartment today," which is what young couples do to find a place to live. And the rabbi said, "I would like to come with you." He was shocked that the rabbi was going to take off time to come look at an apartment. He said, "I'll be honored." He went, he looked at the apartment, he saw all the rooms, the kitchen, the bedrooms, spoke about how nice it is. And then when he left with the student said, "Rabbi, why did you take off time to come look at this apartment with me?" The rabbi said something very powerful. He says, wherever we look with a positive eye, we leave positive energy, like a blessing on what we see with a good eye. I wanted to see the apartment you're going to live in, to see it with a positive eye, ayin tov, and leave my blessing for you to live in this beautiful home. And that's what Bilam didn't have. He had a bad eye. He looked for the bad in the Jews, for the negative. And you can't say, well, that's what I saw. No, it's a choice. It's the desire of your heart that will lead you to where you go. Make sure you have the self-control to make the right choices, unlike Bilam or the evil Nazi guard who was sentenced last week. Have a wonderful day.